Crouch. Bind. Set.
Joe presents the House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Well. Hello, and welcome to a slightly unusual version of House of Rugby, brought to you by Joe, together with our very good friends at Guinness. And my God, we need good friends like Guinness right now, I think it's fair to say. For obvious reasons, we're not in studio this week. We hope all of you are well and happy and healthy and hanging in there, I think is the key thing right now. These are certainly quite extraordinary times. But in the best will and I suppose in the best ethos of House of Rugby, we have put the band back together to bring you a little ray of sunshine in what is an otherwise pretty uncertain time. Hello, Lord. How are you? Man cave.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah, Zara just walked in and went, have you fixed it? It's like, yes, we've just started recording.
We've spent... Hi to the missus. We've spent most of Tuesday trying to get you online. Hoff is just about hanging in there. How are you, Hoffleberries?
Very good. I've been on this call for 2 hours watching old people try to use technology, and it's appalling. Honestly, it's like this is the worst TV show I've ever watched, especially with Jack, Xander and Cy popping up with tins, frustratingly ballsing everything out. For a man who owns a castle, you would have thought he would have the latest technology. You look like you're in some sort of prisoner of war camp with the curtains in the background in case anyone broke into your house and nicked any of your bits and pieces.
John Nichol from the Gulf War in 1991. I don't want anyone to know anything about me. I'm not like you, Hask. I don't broadcast everything through Hello Magazine.
I do love his window pillows, though, on his curtains. They are quite sensational.
Yeah. That was the missus just decorating in the background.
Feng shui. I tell you what, the wheels have come off. I can't. Honest to God, the world has gone completely mad. I'm having a Guinness. I haven't had a drink since the 27th of December, and the wheels are off, lads. I can't.
Why are you going for it now?
Well, because the world has just gone completely mad. I've spoken to some fellow teammates today and some other people, and I honestly, for the first time in my life, I have achieved absolutely nothing today. I've done nothing. I woke up, I went downstairs. It didn't feel that great. It looks like I'm drinking Diet Coke, but it's not. And then I basically sat on the sofa, watched an amazing TV series called White Gold with Ed Westwick in. Fantastic. Completed that. Went to the supermarket, which I thought was going to be carnage. I thought I was going to have to...
Shouldn't be doing that.
Well, I kept a social distance from everyone, apart from this old bloke who was about 75. Came rushing out of the vegetable aisle. I went, hello, and gave me an elbow. And I panicked a bit. And then I tried to walk out of his way, and he kept walking in front of me. And I was like, excuse me, sir, what can I do for you? He goes, give me a handshake. So he gave me some weird elbow touch. And I was like, well, okay. And he goes, how are you? And I was like, have I met you before? He's like, no. Big fan. I was like, but shouldn't you be keeping a distance from me? He's like, no, don't worry about any of that nonsense. I was like, mate, you're 75. Like, take your foot off the gas. But he was very lovely and then told me he was a Saracen supporter. Who, let's be honest, how shit a time have they had? They got relegated, fined, and the fucking season's been cancelled.
Imagine if you were a Remainer and a Saracens fan, and you suddenly found yourself at this point in life wondering what the hell you'd done wrong as the world collapsed around you.
And when you went to the supermarket, Ask, you're now vegan, right?
Exactly. That was the only aisle that had any food in it. That was amazing, isn't it? Everyone else is panicking, buying food, yet you can't flog that vegan stuff. No one wants it. No one wants it. I saw people coming back and bringing it back, honestly. But the weird thing was, again,
returns.
I've honestly seen like the pandemic with the, with the bog roll situation, and I saw it firsthand today. The fact that the whole aisle was cleaned out, and what I can't get my head around is, coronavirus doesn't give you the shits. So what are all these people doing with piles and piles of toilet paper?
You should have been in self-isolation years ago, sadly. The nation's been crying out for that. Do you know the one thing that actually looking at this setup does remind me of? In our very, very first show, I said to you, Hask, what do you want this show to be? And you said, well, I know what I don't want it to be. And that's three virgins in their bedroom chatting to each other on a webcam. And lo and behold, here we are.
Full circle. Full circle.
But we have braved the treacherous coronavirus to bring some light-hearted entertainment to our loyal fans who, I think obviously in this testing time, I mean, Chloe and I have been isolated for about 24 hours. And if anyone follows my Instagram, she's been singing. She thinks it's a great time for us to spend more time together. Everywhere I turn around, a little smiley face is there. We're doing so many activities. Guys, you need to get me out of this house because, honest to God, 48 hours of this, and I'm not going to be able to handle it. She thinks it's so good.
Hey,
do you know what? She's sitting.
Nine
she's
months'
watching.
time, Ask. 9 months' time.
We think this is it.
Well, actually, Well, no, actually, you should say that. Is that when I went to the supermarket today, I was pissing around with the candles, and there was a candle called a Glade Plum, and I was like, Chloe, look, they've named a candle after you. And as I zoomed back out, there was a shopping trolley with a big box of Durex in there, which everyone on Instagram noticed. And I was like, yeah, safe sex. I'm locked up with her for however long. Do not want kids yet. Want a dog.
Lord, where are you? Are you in the West Wing, the East Wing? What's happening in your palace at the moment?
It'd be the north side of the house.
Right.
No, I've literally spent all yesterday just getting told everything that I was doing was cancelled, and so Monday was full kiddie day, swimming with Lena and Mia, and then Tuesday's just been exactly the same as Haskell. Really, I was hoping to get on the golf course, bit of cycling, and that's about it.
How did you get on last week at Cheltenham?
Very well. As you see, my voice is a little bit hoarse still, but it was a very good week. A good way to end all events. I think they did a good job. So, fortunately, I didn't even gamble that much. So I came away pretty even on that as well. So, yeah, can't complain at all. Full house all week, so a lot of fun. And then reality hit about what we're facing.
Ready for 12 weeks of nothingness.
Yeah.
I closed out Cheltenham.
Oh, did you?
Did
How
you not
was
see
that?
it? Oh,
I did.
unbelievable.
I didn't see your message until we had already sort of left, because you did the 6 till 6:30 or something, didn't you? Or 4 till 4:30.
Yeah. So basically,
Well, actually, the wife said, "There's no chance of going there. Let's go." It was carnage, though. I saw videos, and it just looked carnage.
Mate, it was mad. So basically, I got a phone call. So Marvin Humes of JLS fame basically had to get back to his for his radio show, and they called me up and said, "Look, can you DJ?" And I was like, "Yeah, doing absolutely nothing." So just I haven't been to Cheltenham all week. You obviously very kindly invited me up, but I was training, but I finished training, so I whizzed down there, walked into the venue, sat in a Winnebago trailer with Marvin I never met before, which was quite fun, and then went on stage, and basically for 2,000 kind of mad, all people dressed like Peaky Blinders. That was obviously this year's fashion. Everyone was Peaky Blinded up to the max. And then my mate Johnny Barrett, who would be our captain of Bin Juice, who I think some of you guys know, he texted me going, "Oh, I see you coming to Cheltenham. Can you get me, my missus, and her parents in? We want to say hello." So I said, "Yeah, look, I'll be on stage. Please just come and watch the other side, and I'll see you afterwards." Halfway through the first mix, which I'd built up to a really big drop, I turned around. Johnny Barrett's walked up on stage and just joined me on stage in front of all these people. I was like, "Johnny, what are you doing, mate?" But literally trying to talk to me while I was mixing. And you see the video, I'm like, "Yeah, good to see you, mate. Could you just fuck off?" It was amazing. It was amazing. Ultimate bin juice getting on stage.
All the England boys were there on Wednesday, and they all dressed as Peaky Blinders.
Did you have Carol Vorderman in there?
No, she pulled out due to coronavirus.
Oh, I thought one of the lads had a photo with her. I thought she was there for a bit. I thought, because one of them posted a picture of her going, "Can I have a one from the bottom, please, Carol?"
Sure, it wasn't Mary Berry.
Jesus, Mary Berry and Carol Vorderman. I mean, there is a big discrepancy between there.
Good. Sai message. So Sai's communicating to me through WhatsApp, and 5 minutes ago he messaged saying, "Please get to the menu for this week's show." So, on that note, coming up, we're going to find out what's happening with rugby players as teams shut down, how players keep themselves busy and fit. We'll have a little careers Q&A with the boys, and the final standings from our match pint predictor league, which we love. One of us has done well, one of us hasn't. Back to the England boys in their Peaky Blinders gear. What have they been doing? You've spoken to a few this week, haven't you, Hoffleberries?
Yeah. I had a catch-up call because obviously I'm out the loop, completely out the loop, achieving nothing in this wild period, which I think sadly is going to only get more confusing and difficult when you think about it. But I won't dwell. We're all about positivity. So I caught up with a few of them to find out what was going on, and some of the names I won't mention, but there was one particular club that have sent the guys home and said originally, right, go home for the rest of the week. And then they've got a text message saying, actually, it's going to be 3 weeks. And then someone said, actually, no, come in on Monday. But if you don't want to come in, then you can have unpaid leave. So they're trying to sting the lads by basically saying, look, if you don't want to come in, that's absolutely fine. We're not going to make you, but we're not going to pay you. So that was one club, which I thought was quite interesting. The other ones have had a similar sort of situation where they'll be like, right, have the rest of the week off, 3 weeks off. Actually, now it's going to be 5, stay away from the club. One player, I won't mention his name, sort of foresaw this coming and has slowly been siphoning off gym equipment very slowly, piece by piece, until he's got 200 kgs in his house, which is amazing. He was like that. He was like, don't tell me. I was like, I'm not. Snitches get stitches. But apparently they sent this. Apparently there's a few question marks over to where everything's gone, because the head of conditioning keeps walking in, and he's like, I'm sure we used to have a bench press over there. So that's been interesting.
That is a good steal. If you got a whole bench press out, you're walking out with a rack. Where are you going? Oh, apparently it needs servicing. I said I'd take it down. Oh, you got a van? Well, I rented one.
What about Leonard taking the bath out of Twickenham's changing rooms? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I believe that is true, but it's a rumour. I don't know whether it's actually true or not. But why wouldn't you? Because we had, back in the day, there were, I think there were 8 of them in the changing rooms.
Proper
so there's still 2. Yeah, there is still 2 that are in there, but then obviously 6 have disappeared, and I believe that Leonard took one.
I think he got caught.
I'm amazed he put it in his inside pocket with all this cash he had in there, but
having it put in the back of his van. Are spirits high amongst the players? Haskell, are they all over the place? Are they?
I think they're a bit all over the place.
Season?
Because it's a real transitory thing, and that because UK have done standard completely different than anyone else, and there hasn't been a lot of clarity. Guys started. It was literally have the rest of the week off. We'll talk about it. And one of the teams got called in on Monday for a meeting. Everyone was like, "Oh, brilliant! This is going to be, we're going to find out more." And they just went, "Here's the attack plays." Went out and trained. Right, had another meeting. Came back in. They're like, "Right, they're finally going to do something about it." No, just did more videos and went out and trained. Never said anything about it. And then last night they got a message saying, "Actually, look, don't come in for the rest of the week." They've had another message saying, "Look, don't come in for 3 weeks. Don't do anything." But they've all got to train at home. So I spoke to a few of them. They're just lads, are just like, what do we do? They've got to train at home. They're spending time with the kids. Can't go to normal gyms, obviously. But 5 weeks, obviously they said that it's not going to start again. So it's a very kind of weird period of time. And especially, I find it hard because obviously all my stuff that I do outside of House of Rugby was public-facing stuff. So speaking, DJing, and obviously the fight training. But take that all away, I've got nothing to do. I mean, I've still got some business interests and stuff, but it's the first time in my life where I feel completely directionless. And speaking to some of the guys, they're in completely the same boat.
Yeah. Tins, from a player's perspective, how hard is it to keep going, I suppose? Would you be good in this environment?
Well, yeah, I think it's a tricky one, because I was thinking surely the guys will train. Now, if there's local rugby clubs, because they're all there shut, there is a pitch you can go do running on and stuff, but you need to train. It's hard to train as just as yourself. So you need to do it in a couple of years, as long as you keep safe distance. But then how do you do your gym work? How do you do the lifting stuff? Because I'm assuming I saw that some leisure centres are still saying they clean the equipment every night and they're going to monitor numbers. But I generally think that's going to end at some point. So then how do they put the work into you? Which then you'd question whether the season will be back this year or not. Because I just don't see how they can maintain where they want to be and then suddenly turn up and go back into the season.
Do you think we will end up just pressing Control-Alt-Delete on this season and we'll start again in September, fingers crossed? Or do you think that they will find a way to finish this season at the expense of starting next?
I don't know. I think again, like in all situations, Exeter will be trying to find a way that they can restart this season because they always seem to be the losers. Then there's probably a lawyer somewhere who works for Sarri's going, well, if this season gets binned off, is there a legal loophole? Because if they never finish the season, then how do you know that they ever... Does the salary cap then count? Do their charges then count if the season never gets finished? So it's just an unimaginable place to be because I don't know what the players will be thinking. You'll immediately start by going, a week off. But as you say, once it gets round and you've got no reason to... I'm in a similar boat with the Hask. Quite a lot of it is open, public areas. I was supposed to be in London every night this week, and they've all got cancelled. Then you sat there and, obviously you've got the kids Monday and Friday. Well, Lena Monday, Friday, but then Mia's at school all week, and Lena's at nursery 3 days a week. So then you've got, well, what do I do in those 3 days? Golf courses are still open, so that's probably where I'll head.
Thank God you've got a castle to run around in. The rest of us are having a couple of Bits and bobs. The other thing that's quite interesting about this, and people are starting to rumble about it already, is the financial situation for these clubs. And I remember, what was it, about 18 months ago when some of the players started talking about a strike when they were going to extend the length of the season. And there were several clubs at that point who said that if a game was cancelled, they didn't have the cash flow to spread themselves over the month. Now, I don't know whether that's accurate or not,
But then there were also loads of players who said, if we play less, we'll get paid less.
Yeah.
Or you're going to play less now, we're going to cut your salary.
But I just wonder whether this situation is actually going to be seriously destructive for not just rugby, but professional sport. And with that, and it goes back to the Sarri's point, whether actually what we'll end up doing is sort of breaking it and starting again. People have been talking about a British League for years. They've been talking about ring-fencing the Premiership, all these sort of conversations. I wonder whether we might actually end up in a situation where you're trying to pick pieces back up and bolt it back together rather than discussing as to whether you finish one season and start another.
Well, of course it's going to break it. It's going to break every sport. Realistically, and it's not just going to break our industry. It's going to break pubs who rely on people coming in and watching it on a Saturday, Sunday, Friday night, Monday night. European competitions on Wednesday in football. There's so many sort of workplaces it's going to disrupt and maybe even break, and that's the biggest thing that people are looking for clarity is how. But there is no seem to answer. This thing seems to evolve every day. With people having to give statements every day on what the next step is, and we've just got to react. And I think rugby is quite vulnerable in terms of when you get to the numbers. Clubs struggle when they fill every home game. Now, if suddenly they lose, I don't know how many home games are left, 4 home games or whatever are left, then that's a big chunk of change that they suddenly lose out on. And then how do they maintain on the back of that? Because the sponsors who are behind the clubs then possibly aren't making the money. The owners aren't possibly making the money and then they could see that as a viable get out, if you know what I mean.
Off? What do you think?
Well, I spoke to a couple of players, and their concern is like, at what point do they stop getting paid? What? Because obviously, if you're injured for a period of time, I think there's a 6-month point where the club can turn around and cut you off and say, listen, actually, you're not playing. But most Premiership clubs lose 3 to 4 million a year, or 2 to 4 million, I should say, a year, and they manage to wear it, and carry on and move on. But I don't know what do you do, because you're not getting any revenue, and everybody's now going to be claiming. I mean, I will be very careful because I know the people here will be massively, profoundly affected. I've got friends of people, a gym closes, they lose their business. Another business is business to business. If there's no business opens, they're not going to want to buy any business gifts, etc. And these things fold. There's obviously going to be a lot of people hand to mouth. I think in the sports situation, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then how can you continue to get paid indefinitely? And the problem is, in this country with the media and everything else that we've had around this virus, there's so much scaremongering and inaccuracies in reporting and people panicking and contrary fake news. It's very clear. It's very difficult to get a clear and concise picture as to what's actually going on. But I would say, from an uneducated point of view, that this is going to go on a lot longer than we perhaps thought about. And I think boys are like, well, what do we do? Like the basics of it, keeping fit. You're going to lose all of that because you're never going to get together. Like somebody pointed out at one of the meetings, the lads was telling me that they went, what about how are we going to do units, scrums and lineouts and stuff? And apparently a back put his hand up and was like, I don't do a lot of unit sessions, but call me old fashioned, but there's a lot of contact in there. So people are still trying to cling on to it. But I think it's a very, very scary time. And I wouldn't be surprised if some clubs do disappear or struggle, because I think a lot of them are on knife edge as it is already.
I know.
Yeah.
Utterly terrifying.
Definitely heading to Minchinhampton Touch on Thursday night. No one's going to get near me for the first time ever.
Social distancing.
You can use Covoid 15 as your great defender. Quick other couple of bits. I think what you're saying is absolutely right. I mean, no one knows, and therefore there isn't really a lot more that you can add to it. There were a couple of quite interesting.
What a time to live in! Sorry, Alex. What a time to live in. We've seen in our life. We've seen Brexit. We've seen Donald Trump as president, and now we've seen the world fall apart through a virus.
It is
the first time everyone's saying, "Please, I miss Brexit."
I know.
Yeah, Brexit come back
soon.
I know.
A couple of other bits which sort of seem fairly incidental, really, given what we're all going through. But there was quite an interesting line about Maro Itoje possibly going to Racing on megabucks, and the rest of the Premiership have said, no, that's not happening. That doesn't fit the exceptional circumstances. Is that? I sort of wonder whether you're getting into restraint of trade at that point. But have you got sympathy for Maro, or do you understand the outlook from the rest of the clubs?
Do you think there's a behind-the-scenes chat there where he's saying, look, I'm just going for a year and then I'll come back?
Yeah, that's exactly what he was going to do, I think. It was 1 year sabbatical.
Oh.
Play in Europe, play on the continent, and then,
But then not get picked for England.
Well, no, I think Eddie Jones wanted it to be wrapped into an exceptional circumstance, therefore you can't play for England.
Well, I don't think that. Well,
what's it got to do with anyone else?
Well, yeah.
I'll be like, mind your own fucking business. I'm doing this. All the Premiership other clubs got together. They've got bigger problems to worry about.
But want to do it. But if your star assets start saying, if I'm good enough and I can go and play abroad, then I'll still get picked for England. That means that the clubs are more likely to lose their star assets who will use the same exceptional clause.
Yeah, but it has to be a unique situation because obviously Saracens have got relegated, and you can't have a player of Maro Itoje's calibre rolling out in the Championship. And in the words of the RFU, they don't see the Championship as a main sourcing ground for future talent. Maro Itoje wants to go abroad and play abroad, and it works in everyone's favour, and he gets to broaden his horizon and keeps playing for England. Then it's an exceptional circumstance. I literally don't understand why anyone would have anything to say about it.
Does that not come down to Sarries? And if Sarries want him to stay, and if he's locked into a contract, then he either has to stay or Racing have to buy him out. And if Sarries are happy to sell him on that, then he can go and he can do whatever he wants.
But I imagine the detail is that he will go out on loan and then come back. So I imagine Sarries would be willing to loan him out for 12 months.
But then he'll just get flogged.
That is the problem.
7 figures, then you possibly...
Yeah, but yeah, I get flogged for £1 million.
What I do love, though, Hoff, is that you were actually allowed to go abroad under that exceptional circumstances rule. So Maro says, can I go abroad under exceptional circumstances? And everyone goes, no, Maro, you must stay. Hass says, can I go? I was like, yeah, sure, trot on. We'll see you when you get back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You did also...
We'll see you when you get back.
You got paid for...
But I played every game, didn't I? So...
Ledge.
I played 2 years of France. Even Martin Johnson ventured over with John Wells to France, and they asked me to drive. It's just such a good story. Not a great story, but what a balls up. It was like so Jono he'd just taken over and basically flown over to France with John Wells to watch Stade Francais versus who did Goody play for? Brive, right?
Brive.
And for some bizarre reason, I must have blacked out because I had a good game. And Wells was like, right, Hask, you can drive us back to our hotel. And I was like, okay, obviously a bit nervous. It's me, John Wells, and Martin Johnson in the car, and they're giving me the address, but I don't know where I'm driving around in France. So I put it in the old Citroen sat-nav, and honest to God, it's taken me like 3 hours out of the way because there was like 2 roads the same, and I could just feel like Martin Johnson's eyes burning into the back of my head. Wells is like, you've gone wrong, you idiot. I was like, Wells, it's the address you told me. And I'm fucking sweating. We've had to drive with the windows open. Mate, it was so much pressure. And I finally got them back about 3 a.m. It was the most, and I could see, Jono looking at me like, I knew he was an idiot, but mate, there was so much pressure. It was more intense than the game, that car ride.
That is quite time. I love that.
I know. It was like, thanks, Hass. We won't select you in your fucking navigation. I was like, thanks, Welty. Thanks, mate. Bye, Jono. Bye. Remember me. Bye. They did. They picked me every game.
Would you say to Maro, go do it? It'll be 12 months that, particularly if you're coming back.
I would say that there's one caveat which Tins is flagged up. Look, regardless of the money, okay, the opportunity to go and broaden your horizons in a different culture, in a different rugby context, to meet people was the best, hands down, the best experience I've ever had. And the one thing that, for all the things that people joke about me in my career, to having played in the UK, France, Japan, New Zealand, back to the UK, and had that kind of opportunity that not really anyone's done or hadn't done, until a couple of years ago, was was an amazing kind of experience. And I would say the only problem is now the French league, A, they're all huge, and B, it is now so attritional that, Maro will be battle hardened, but will he be, run into the ground? Because, some of the expectation on him will be massive. He will have to roll out. They don't really believe in kind of overly too much sports science. It depends which club you go to, what their concept is. I would 100% say go and do it. He's not going to lose his place. 1 year out with England as well. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Eddie would want to do that. But if he has to do it, I would go and take it, because it's just so much better than playing in the Championship. No offence to the Championship, but opportunity to go and play in Racing, where as Premiership players, we spend the whole time talking about the big weekends, European weekends, against your Toulouses, your Toulons, your Racing. That's every week. And what an experience to go and try himself. And you just get battle hardened, and it will make him an even better player, I think.
Yeah.
It's interesting, because I was reading that an article by Owen Slot about how Sarries will do when they come back up, and he was saying, obviously if the big six stay, they play 6-7 games for Saracens next year in the Championship. They're flying for England, then they fly into that
Lions tour,
that British and Irish Lions tour, and then by the time they come back, they still should be in good form, because they'll actually just be sort of warming up. So, whereas if you go and do 35 games in the French league, and then, which is tough at the best of times, and you're not giving in. They don't. If you listen to Haskell and listen to other people, they don't seem to really care about your body and how you're feeling. And if you slightly niggle, they won't rest you, because that's why they pay you the money they pay you. They want you to play, and then suddenly you come back and you're straight into a Lions tour, and then you've got to come back and also do, if you do that, England whilst you're out there on exceptional circumstances. It could knock quite a few years off his end of year, but then, as you say, he's pretty young still, and his body might be able to do it. But it's a tough ask just for Wedge. I mean, the experience on.
We did say as well that we thought that the guys going to the Championship, actually they were going to come back in better shape and actually would probably prolong a lot of their careers already. By the opportunity to go down there, not get filled in week out. Hopefully have those victories, even though they talk. I think it was you, Tims, was saying that you spoke to Toby Flood, and he said that in the Championship, they never say die attitude means you've got to play for the full 80 minutes. But ultimately, they'll come back any time off. I mean, I think some of the these 5 weeks off now, players never get to rest. And even if they restart the season, they'll be fresher. Injuries will get to heal. People will be in a better place.
Yeah. In a nutshell, Tins, England players still remaining in England to play for their country, or are you seeing a point where actually the game is becoming more global, and if we can align the stars so that all competitions have windows, etc., there is a sort of a bit more of a roving role, a la cricket, where go and play in the Big Bash, etc.
Yeah, look, I think in an ideal world, you should be able to play anywhere and play for England. But then it takes the system. The main reason for not being allowed to play if you're outside England is the amount of time you'd miss, the weeks that you wouldn't be allowed to get back, the training weeks. They miss the week before an international so they can go into camp. You don't get that if you play in France. And I think that was the initial reason for it, was not missing out on those training weeks. I think salary cap is another issue that brings it in. If you suddenly got free trade all the way through Europe, that adds another. How much will the prices of players skyrocket if then they're suddenly they're free to go and do that? And then what financial pressures does that put on the clubs, on English clubs, then to have to pay them the sort of wages that they would get in France? The thing is with France is you obviously go get that extra bit of cash, but you miss out on the English money, but the England money makes up for it. So you've got to figure out whether all the numbers figure. So take Maro, for example, he gets paid whatever he gets paid to Sarries. Is the money he's going to get paid on top of that? And then if he doesn't get the England money, is it worth it for another 100, 150 grand to not have the easier lifestyle they'd have back here and still be playing for England? Or if they give him exceptional rules, is he prepared to put his body through it for that money? Hask would definitely take that, but I would consider it very carefully. But Yeah, look, in an ideal world, there wouldn't be a salary cap and the players can do whatever they want, but the money's not in the game yet to do that. Clubs are not in a financially strong enough place to do that. So I still think it's a good thing that if you either choose to go experience, take the wedge, or you choose to stay in England, play in our league, so that fans in this league are England fans as well, and they support their country as well as they can.
Well put. Moving on to the other big talking point, Joseph Marler. Hung, drawn, quartered and guilty of 10 weeks for the incident with Alan Wynne-Jones. We've all sort of pinged him a message or two, and I get the impression that he, as much as anyone could do with a break from the game right now, sort of wonder if, I think he's held his hands up, but 10 weeks for that? Correct?
I think... Look,
go Haskell. I reckon there's a good rant coming in.
Here we go. Come in on the long run.
Well, I think. Firstly, I think, unfortunately, in this particular situation, Joe's been in situations before, and he got completely stitched up with that. I don't want to use the word because it's derogatory, but the Samson Lee, right? And obviously he got completely hung out to dry with that incident, made to pay 20 grand or something ridiculous, some mad fee and everything else, which I thought was massively inappropriate. I thought, worse things were said, but trial by social media, and the people felt they had to go after him. So unfortunately, he's already got a bad taste in his mouth about that. I think, look, we talked about it on the show the other day, that in the context of Joe and Al Wynne-Jones, it was funny. It was a rugby context. What we're trying to educate our kids with, and the de facto role of a role model, even though you don't necessarily want to be one, you have to stop that. I think 10 weeks is very, very harsh. I think.
10 weeks. It was 12, wasn't it?
12.
Mitigated down to 10.
Yeah.
But then if you read why it was 12 weeks, it's all about malicious and being quite angry to that area. It's not about trying to diffuse a fight that's going on by doing something that you think is quite funny and in training, at a training session, would be funny, but on a global scale, people are going to take offence to it. And that's where he got it wrong. Was he didn't? You've got to remember where you are, and you've got to remember who's watching, and not everyone's going to find that funny, even if Alan Wynne found that funny. But I think Alan Wynne he's probably done more than a few things to a few people over his illustrious career at the bottom of rucks and mauls. But just because people doesn't see it, does that make it all right? So I wasn't that chuffed that he sort of went down the line he went down after the match, because I think he could have diffused it a lot easier. Because he made a remark about it, I think he ended up leading to where Joe got to. And I think, yes, I think funny in it from a rugby player's perspective. Told this story before about how I always used to give Leon Lloyd a little flick in the nuts at the bottom of every ruck at the first thing, because I knew he'd lose his head. So once Leon's lost his head, he's a lot easier to play against. So, that whether it's right or wrong, it has been in the game. Obviously, if you talk to players of yonder year, the silver slipper on the groinal area would have been a target. So it comes from a history of trying to find people's weak spots. I'm not entirely sure whether I'm getting this right. But, I think, yes, inappropriate in this day and age, but meant with good humour in diffusing a situation, and to be put in the category that it was then judged on, I think is incorrect. When the French punch that guy in the face gets 3 weeks.
Beautifully. Can I just say very quickly, I think silver slipper on my groinal area is a new T-shirt.
Yeah. I just think exactly what Tin says is that the French guy to get 3 weeks, and for Marler to get that.
Mohamed Hawass, for that punch on Jamie Ritchie, gets 3 weeks. And Marler, for playing a prat and getting it wrong, gets...
Yeah, but also, Tins is right. He did it with a smile on his... Look, it doesn't make it any better, but he did it on a smile on his face in front of everybody. I can understand the re-education process of listen, we don't want that in our game. We want people to understand that it's inappropriate. You can't do that, etc. In any other walk of life, that's sexual, etc. But there are varying degrees of that, and he should have got a rap on the knuckles, but not 10 weeks, not delivered in the way it was, and not to be told that he was all these things, because it's just, I think it's inappropriate. I think he's a good guy, and I think I know we talked about last week's show. Alan Wynne, was talking, I think, more about trying to get a penalty and the fact that these TMOs, everyone says they don't see anything, but they see what they want to see. How you don't see Joe Marler completely bald with a massive beard twizzling Albion's knob. I don't know. Perhaps you should have gone to Specsavers, but I think that's what more the concern. I just feel sorry for Joe because in this game of fake tough man where everyone goes and doesn't throw any punches and goes fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and nothing happens. He just did something a little bit off-piste, which in the context of rugby is funny, in the real world isn't. But we've got to have some common sense, and people have thrown him under the bus to make an example of him, and I think it's not right.
And I think it's a little bit harsh when people try and link it to, if my under 10s or under 8s, I think someone said, where they play mixed rugby, do you think it's all right for them to then go? I think you're making a very long link there to try and even get there, and sort of it's a bit like grow up. You can't always look at it from that angle. It's his professional sport. People who obviously he's been on Lions tours with him, they know each other inside out. It is a completely different story, and whether that's right or wrong, it is. But again, he should get the rap on the knuckles. I think the official who must have seen it, or the TMO, and you just reverse a penalty. And that should have been the end of it. I'm not entirely sure it goes down this whole route of wasting a disciplinary hearing time.
I do agree with you that I've had that before. Well, if you said that to my 14-year-old, you're like, but it weren't 14. We're adults. We're men. You have a responsibility, unfortunately, though, whether you want it or not, to be a role model, and that's a mistake he made. And if he was contrite and put his hand up, he should have had that. And you can't apply out of context things onto something. You've got to be level-headed. And I think, unfortunately, punching someone's far worse than jokingly twizzling a bloke's knob in a really unaggressive manner. If he punched him in the nuts or tried to rip it off and put it in his kit bag, I can understand. But
took it down his sock.
Yeah, well, Joe Worsley, Jason Leonard ripped Joe Worsley's scrotal sack open until he had to get he had something like 36 stitches in his ball sack, and you could see his testicle. I mean, in that back in the day, they gave him probably bought Jason Leonard a pint or something, or gave him another cap.
Buck Shelford had his balls ripped open in Nantes in 1986, had them taped up and played on. Those are the days when men were real men.
Yeah, but that's mad. I don't understand that. People who
when
say
you know that Joe's always got to live up to that. He was always the soft guy who came off for a stitch rather than just put on a fresh pair of pants and went back out there.
I know, it's bollocks. Someone ripped my balls open. I ain't coming back for love nor money. Well, you're soft. Yeah, no, I actually am soft because I'm not. I'm not going back on with my testicles hanging out for love nor money.
Wish I could show you Wish I could show you the WhatsApps I'm getting from Si. That's coming out. That's coming out. That's coming out. Get to the trail. That's coming out. Less cock chat. Please move on. So on that note,
we didn't say he's honestly he's getting a bit big for his boots. Old Si. He's getting a bit carried away, isn't he?
We wanted to do this live, but he won't let us anywhere near a live stream.
No,
on that bombshell, right? You are listening to and watching House of Rugby. Three virgins in their bedrooms. On Joe, together with Guinness, with me, Alex Payne, alongside Haskell and Tins. Still to come, we're going to have a little bit of fun with the guys looking back at their career, and we'll also have the final standings from the Guinness Match Point League. But with so many self-isolating at the moment and running out of things to do, we may just take a moment to recommend the House of Rugby back catalogue. Some really good episodes with some wonderful guests, and it is well worth saying we do love the characters of the game, the likes of Michael Liner, Ben Ryan, John Schmidt, Billy Vunipola, Ellis Genge, Jess Breach, Alex Good, Chris Robshort, to name but a few. And we do remain a very big fan of this guy.
Is there nothing you will not do?
No.
Where would you draw the line? If dancing on ice or celebrity show jumping on Channel 5 came
I'm waiting
to you
for it. I'm sorry that you're meant to answer this question, but I am waiting for... I'm a Celebrity is one of my favourite shows. Honestly, it is one of my favourite shows.
Would you
it's
go
a
on
show
it?
on
Would
ITV and it's got loads of...
What'd you do? Would you go on it?
You think he hasn't got ITV?
No, I'm waiting for this man.
Are you going to go on it?
It'll be gold.
How many times have they asked you?
It's a possibility.
Yes.
We haven't asked twice already.
What?
Would you be that excited?
Make it happen. Make it happen.
I just don't think...
I'd worry you get done for bullying.
I don't think myself live cameras is a good idea. Do you not think? I just think it's a bit...
Yeah, I don't know. That's why you have to pre-record this.
Yeah, I think there's no point asking me on any of those dancing shows because I can't. I'm just terrible at dancing. I'm not really built for dancing.
SAS Who Dares Wins?
Yeah, I could do that, I think.
Pardon?
SAS Who Dares Wins, that
What do
programme.
you mean, yes, I can do that?
I could probably do SAS. Who does wins? I can hear Si going 0 chance. He's such a rat. We can hear you. Your horrible voice travels, you bastard. Of course I can do it.
Bastard.
What would you do?
What?
Bargain hunt.
Rogue traders.
Rogue traders.
Badly patio driveways and stuff like that.
Can you hear Si?
You're watching the House of Rugby on Joe, together with Guinness.
That was Joe Marler's House of Fun, which you can find via our podcast app or on YouTube as well. Hours and hours of fun for you in there. Do go and visit the back catalogue if you haven't already, and we'll try and create some really good content over the next few weeks to keep you all mildly amused. Don't forget our Facebook group. 35,000 of you in there now, I'm told. And check out our Instagram as well, at RugbyJoe, for photos, news, and behind-the-scenes bits and pieces. Time for some fun with the boys. Just before we do that, actually, before we get into it, Six Nations obviously is going to break until October. Headlines from the Six Nations. Anything interesting we haven't covered already? Lord, you've probably watched most of it in a way that others haven't.
No, not really. I don't think it's been. We talked about being the most exciting Six Nations in ages with the new coaches and everything. I don't think it's quite been that. It's been. I thought the last weekend that we had, in terms of, was good in terms of how it jumped around. It's disappointing for my when we get on to the match point predictor. The England game was disappointing for me because they were bang on my score until they had the yellow card and then the red. And then the last two scores. Yeah,
so was I. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
Welcome to the game.
But I think I don't really think it got fired up, but it would have. There were some good. At least it teed up that final weekend quite well in terms of the possibilities. But we'll have to wait till whenever before we actually get to see it.
All right. Let's come back to all that. So,
do you want to ask me? No,
I don't.
Well, I've got an opinion on Six Nations. Well, I thought the exciting point was I think Dupont. He was my player of the tournament. I thought the try that Tipperick scored at Wales was probably one of the best tries ever scored at Twickenham. And I think if it had happened in like the 1970s, Wales would never stop fucking talking about it. And I thought that I love the fact that England are in the lead with one game to go, and only Ireland and France can catch them, and they potentially win it after everyone has slagged them. So that's my highlights of Six Nations.
I'm going to ask
take that out.
Rugby Knows, Payne, what is a better try, Tipperick's try or Ben's Cohen try in 2000,
against
which
Ireland?
Also was from the restart against Ireland?
I would say Cohen's try in 2000 because it had more component parts to it. Although the Wales try, I would still go Cohen because there were more players involved and more component parts to it.
More players touched the ball for sure.
Yeah. But
there you go.
This was arguably against a better team. Ireland were fairly average back in 2000. So,
hang on. It was only 47-16 that day. They were tricky.
I would still go Cohen.
It would have been an even better try if I'd have caught. If I'd have scored, it would have been even better. But I got run down by Dennis Hickey.
You did. I wish you had scored that. Actually, those were in the days when you had long locks that caught the wind when you ran. But
maybe you ran so fast they fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously moving quite
that never happened. I never ran that fast.
Right. Some questions about you. We haven't actually done any of this. These are some quite good questions from producer Si. First game of rugby you ever remember playing?
Is that to both of us?
Yeah, fire in.
Me?
Dive in and we'll bounce it.
Mine was against Newport for Maidenhead Rugby Club. They used to have a mega kid played for Newport, and I was, obviously, the big kids. I was like the big kid from Maidenhead. There was always like a big, head-on-head thing, and the Welsh were always quite aggressive.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you remember the name of that big kid?
No, I can't. Sadly, but I'm sure. Oh, he might be a listener. I don't know. We'll see. Big kid from Newport, Maidenhead. I don't know. I was not born in 1985. See if you remember.
I don't know. Tins?
Mine would probably be inter-house rugby at Queggs. When I used to remember when you were doing full contact at like 8. It's probably when I sort of remember we had a good team. That's probably my first memory of playing.
you remember they never used to have tag? You remember the tag was never invented? Just went touch straight to full on.
Do you remember those high ankle high tech boots as well? I had a pair of Wade Dooley.
Oh yeah, I had a pair of those. Steel toe caps.
And the Mitre 1987 ball as well, which was basically a bar of soap, 4 panels.
Yeah,
that was myself. Did you have a rugby hero? If so, who?
Mine was Lawrence Delalio until I met him. I'm joking.
That's the exact same answer for me, but a different person.
Yeah,
Will Carling till I met him.
Right.
No.
So I say Lawrence was great. He was. I told the story before about I met his mum at the ground, Eileen, and she was just incredible. And she basically forced Lawrence to have to talk to me, and he was great and kind of really supported me. And he was someone that I really aspired to be, and got to play, alongside and stuff. Which was it was amazing. But then as I got older, it then turned into kind of Richie McCaw.
Nice. Tins, was there a moment when you knew you were going to make it?
No, not really. Well, not for a long time. It wouldn't have happened till Bath. At Bath, and then always Thursday nights was first versus seconds, and it was a time to actually try and injure the person you're playing against. And I ran over the top of Catty, and then everyone was like, "Oh, Jonah's back," and then everyone was giving Catty a load of crap about it. And then Guscott started talking to me, so I knew I had a chance if Guscott would talk to me. So, so maybe that was the time when I thought I might have a chance to play. Not where it got to, but at least having a game for Bath.
Ask, stop clanking your bottle opener and producer.
Oh, sorry.
The WhatsApp.
Sorry.
When did you know you were going to make it? Because you were quite young. You were right in that sort of slipstream of project players and.
I was the first kind of academy player off the conveyor belt, along with Tom Rees and a few other guys. Mine was the first proper generation of National Academy. That the fact that all the academies around the country just set up with all the testing stuff. I made my debut for 18 when I for Was, and didn't really. I played one game and didn't feature the rest of the season. Played the beginning game, the next season didn't feature. It was probably around 21 when I started to do well and got picked up by England and start, and that was when I was like, oh God, I'm actually going to do something out of this. Because before it was like, I'd had a few false starts. I wasn't, I was never that confident in myself. So I was never that, never that aware that I was going to do it. I never wanted to be a rugby player really, but it sort of just came about like that.
This is quite a good one. Player who seemed to hate you the most through your career. We're an hour's show, Hask. So, try to keep it short.
I mean, everybody hated me until they met me. We've had. I mean, every single guest has come on and gone. I thought.
Was there anyone on the field of play who, when you put your boots on, your gum shield in, you knew this is going to be something today?
No, I'd say Pat Sanderson was always a little bit niggly. We both got cited for. both got cited for eye gouging each other in the same game at the same moment. But it was bizarre. We both went in and that was citing. And you'd be cited. And I went, well, he didn't eye gouge me. And he went, we didn't eye gouge me. And then we're like, well, it looks like he did the video. Like, well, we didn't. And that was the end of it. And once I met him, he was all right.
He's a lovely bloke, actually. I like Pat enormously. Definite edge, but great fun. Tins, who hated you the most?
Well, until he came to Bath, Robbie Fleck.
Oh yeah, we were saying that.
Yeah, he was the worst. He literally said things to me that no one's ever said before and tried to whack me. And it wasn't until I played with him that I realised he's just an absolute psychopath on the field. And once you're on the other side of it, it's fine. Right. Go get him, Flecky. But he would have been for England. But it was he always blamed it on the fact that it was a bad time for South Africa at that time when we beat them by 56 or whatever it was in 02, was it?
Yeah, 02.
Where he got sent off for that tackle on Johnny straight at the start. So, but generally outside that, Dean Ryan probably hated me for a bit.
Was that as a coach player rather than player?
That was when I was young and I upset him. I think have I told you about this? I upset him quite a lot in one Bath Bristol game, and Gareth Archer told me I wouldn't ever go in a room on your own with him because he doesn't like you. They weren't the words he used, but then we made up as well. So no one generally hated me for my whole career.
Yeah. Again, like Pat, an absolute gent off the field, Dean, when there's nothing at stake. One of the best.
Yeah.
Feeling in the tunnel ahead of your first ever professional game or first cap?
My first professional game was against Connaught. I was 17 and still at school, and I came on the back row to join Lawrence and Paul Volley, and yeah, my whole family was there. It was kind of mad, really. It was just happened in a blur, but I did things like, this is really weird. It might not compute, but basically in that game, I did all the things that, in terms of like breakdown, hitting other men off the ball, doing all this stuff, and I don't know why, it just came in a haze. So much so that like the coaches sat me down and were like, "Where have you learned this? How have you done this? This is what we're trying to get the guy." It was my greatest debut ever, but I didn't. It was because I was running on complete and utter like adrenaline and everything. I was just going around like a madman. But they were like, "Oh, this is brilliant!" And then when I couldn't reproduce it, they were like, "Oh, maybe it wasn't. Well, maybe it wasn't innate skill. It was this." But it was just all the little nuances of forward play that they've been trying to get these guys. We've never seen anything like it. Like Tony Hanks and Gatlin sitting me down and like unbelievable praise me. That's why they started me and I think gave me a contract. They were blown away, but I don't think I ever replicated it again in my career.
That's incredible. Pins. First big game, tunnel memories.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was the first game I played professionally was at the Rec for Bath, seconds versus Gloucester. But when you say seconds, there was still in that team 10 first teamers and 10 internationals. So, you know, I think when you look around the room and you've got Ian Evans, Adibeo, Dave Hilton, Andy Nicol, Eric Peters. As your first game ever as a professional, you had some good people to follow. You just follow Ian all day and you score 2, which I did because he just makes breaks all over the field in second team rugby. But definitely was a weight of expectation when you play with those guys because back in those days they let you know if you weren't doing the job, they would make sure that they let you know. So it's more self-protection that you had to play well because if you didn't, you'd know next week at training you'd get probably filled in. So it was a lot of nerves at the time, but then the nerves quickly go as soon as you get on the field.
Yeah. I can hear Chloe's cooking dinner, and I can hear the hounds at the at Tindall Manor have been released. So let's fly through these. Best try you ever scored? Ask.
The best try I nearly scored was when it haunts me to this day when in the Heineken Cup final I came on and ran 80 metres off the back of a turnover scrum at number 8 and fell 5 metres short of the line and got tackled, and I still regret it. It would have been the greatest try, but it was just a non-event. Oh, it's got a perfect cup of tea. I think one of my favourite tries was against the Barbarians actually. I came on and I basically got the ball dummied, sidestep, went through the line, and then sidestepped Saki and I don't know who the other fullback was, and went scored under the post about 60-metre run. That was probably my favourite.
Last one against Stag, a little chip and chase as well. How the hell did it get chipped up in that instance? I don't know.
Chipper, yeah, that was a big one. People don't believe I had that at the Arsenal. It came out once and never seen again.
All you need. Tins?
I think I scored
in 03.
Tell you what.
Did you score in Australia in summer of 03?
Yeah. It wasn't a classic, that one. I think my first try against Ireland, the dive in the corner, was a good one. I scored a couple against Breve back in the European Cup when they were good, where I tell everyone I smoked Bernard Sal, which probably wasn't true.
Take it.
And then I think the most important ones I scored were actually for the Barbarians as well, when we played 3 games in 3 days, and I scored against England, then I scored against Ireland, and then we played against Wales, and it ended up getting me another contract with Gloucester with Nigel Davies, so prolonged the career for a little bit longer. So they were probably the most important to me personally, but I'm not very good at remembering all my tries. There were so many, obviously. Yeah. Most of them were quite short, and most of them were like props tries. Take a short line and bulldoze over.
Best game you ever played? Or worst game you ever played?
What, individually?
Yeah.
Worst game was definitely on a tour to South Africa, and we played in the curtain raiser for the Super Rugby game. And in the first, basically within the first 5 minutes, Freddie Burns had done a lovely, literally a perfect chip over the line, caught it, walked out, ran over the line, one-handed put it down, dropped it. No one even near me was at score. Then off the restart, I think I tried to do a box kick that got charged down. They scored, and then I threw an intercept. And bearing in mind we were in front of 65,000 people this time because it was a warm up for a Super Rugby game. Yeah, it didn't go particularly well. John Connolly was coach at the time. Fortunately, because I was quite far down the line at that point. After we'd won the World Cup and everything, he said, "Mate, I'll let that one slide, but don't fucking do it again."
Wise words.
So yeah.
Best game?
Yeah.
Ask. Ask, have you got anything in Wild Tins thinks?
I think there was a couple of performances for Wasps, but I think probably what everyone talks to me about, my best England game was either first or second test against Australia. Over there. That's what everyone kind of reminds me about. So I'll take either one of those games. Worst, there was a few shoddy performances. I would say. Well, I think when you get yellow card or something like that, I think it's pretty. It was interesting. I got yellow carded. Probably the lowest one was I got yellow carded against France, England-France, where the ball went over the back of the line. Actually, Nigel Owens reminded me about it the other day. He said I told him that the bloke ran into my legs instead of I tripped him up. But the guy, the ball bounced over the top. I went that way. The ball went back inside. The guy grabbed it and put my leg and tripped him up. And I got yellow carded. And it was a game where England needed to win like 400 points to 5. And we scored like 40 points or something like that. But we just didn't win. It was interesting because Stuart Lancaster, obviously, I got yellow carded, never put back on, and kind of left hanging and a nightmare. But then fast forward kind of a year or so later against Ireland, I came on and I got done for a late tackle on Conor Murray, which is absolute bollocks. And I got yellow card, and Eddie just brought me straight back on again. So the confidence was good, and we won the game. So very different management.
Interesting. Best coach you played under, either of you?
Dean Ryan.
Ask.
I've been lucky. I would say Eddie Jones for me.
Top 3 players you played with?
Can I just stick to backs?
Yeah, go on. England teammates, best 3 players you played with?
Well, Jason Robinson, Richard Hill.
Yeah.
And, well, it's quite hard to just name 3 out of that team. I'd like to put Sinbad in there, but with the other people you put around. And I'm going to stick with Will Greenwood.
Nice. Keeping it in the family.
Jason Robinson. I really rate Danny Care. I mean, I know Ben. Look, it's brilliant. I thought Danny Care, one of the most skillful kind of guys who did stuff which was pretty special. Other back, who I'm trying to think.
Tom Rees.
Yeah, Rees. Put that there. So Rees.
If you could have played in one game that you watched, which game would that be? That's a good question.
England's semi-final win over New Zealand last year.
That's a good call. That is a good call.
England beating Australia.
It's only time.
Oh, Haskell, how different things could have been, eh? Amazing.
Is that
money?
Don't worry, there wasn't that much ass back then.
Coming from the bloke who's in a castle.
Okay, last one. If age and health allowed you to play one more game for England and you could choose the opponent and the location, who would it be against and where?
Wales, Principality Stadium. Friday night.
Grand Slam on the line?
Yeah.
I'd say England Twickenham versus New Zealand.
That was a good shout as well. We'll give you wins in both of those. Very interesting. I like that.
Dogs appeared in the background, Tins.
Hello, who's this?
Blinky. Hello.
Is that a boxer?
Yeah.
You've got a called Bink.
There she is.
Blink.
Oh, Blink.
She is.
Blink 182.
Blink.
That was a very
She named after a character from X-Men.
very sweet.
Someone with bad eyesight, I thought.
I like Blink. Right. Hoff, anything you want to bring in? A little parrot or a budgie or a little mouse?
No. I'm not allowed to have any pets because Chloe says that I will love the pets more than I love her, and I need to give her all undivided attention at all times.
He is so right. Right, with the remaining Guinness Six Nations games postponed until further notice, the current, not quite final, but the current table standings in our Match Pint League are as follows. Although apparently Match Pint are working on another shorter pint predictor for the Autumn International Games later in the year. Haskell will be back once again for that. Well done to Katie Hallett on 175 points. In second, we've got Jamie Salt on 176. But the winner, I think actually he led for most of the competition, with 182 points and 3 perfect predictions, is Ed Ralph. Well done to you, Ed. You have won yourself a House of Rugby experience. Come and see the show being recorded. So you can either choose Hask's house or Tins at this rate. Hang out
It's
with
a
the
rugby
guys
experience.
behind the road. You can borrow one of Si's denim shirts. You can get some signed merch. I'm not sure when that will happen, obviously, but we'll be in touch. Well done to you, Ed. As for the House of Rugby team, quite pleased to have come 541st and to be leading the standings in that regard. Tins just in the slipstream in 574. Si was 775, which is not bad for a man who's never watched a game of rugby before. And Hask down in 2,537th.
Yes, I missed a round, so I was always going to be behind.
No, I'm
Nobody
not
understands this.
sure that's okay. Not sure that's the
Yes, it is true. But I tell you what, for that Ed Ralph experience, I'm going to get him round here. I keep kicking him in the nuts, telling him to get a life. That's the experience. Welcome to the House of Rugby experience, sir.
Good. What do we need in our lives for the next 7 days? Should we try and do another one of these? No one's paying us apparently, but should we try and do another? I've quite enjoyed this. It's quite nice therapy. Hask, you've got nothing else to do, since you probably
Absolutely
have.
true.
Should we have a little brainstorm as to what else we can do? What else is in the diary? What are we going to do?
Well, let's see if the feedback on this show, because they could be like, Christ, that was like watching paint dry, the worst, most boring thing in the world, or they might like it. If the feedback's good, we will come and rescue you. We'll do more.
That is a very good idea. Let's get the Facebook group, A, to be nice to each other, and B, to make some suggestions, and we could talk about our top 10 films of all time, or let's build a cabinet out of rugby players.
Worst roommates. We've never done a worst roommates story.
We've
never covered that.
Any thoughts? You all right?
Worst bloke on a night out.
Go on.
Worst object in your house. Best object in your house.
Yeah.
We could do like a through the keyhole. We could do guided tours of our properties. We need to extend.
I'm not entirely sure Zoe will be on board with that.
Yeah, we've got time to get around your mansion, Alex. It takes hours. And here's the west swing. We already get over the drawbridge just by the time the 2 hours finishes.
I'll show you where we. Well, when we finished, I'll show you where we can do the show from next time. I'll ring you back on somewhere I can.
Christ, don't try and ring us back, Tins. It took us fucking 3 hours to get here.
Broadband connection.
No, I'd rather punch myself in the face if that's all right.
Thank you, chaps. I've quite enjoyed this. It's been sort of quite a nice therapy, really. Nice not to be shouting at the kids and the wife. That is it for this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the House of Rugby. We are a YouTube show and we're a podcast. Don't forget you can dig into our entire back catalogue, which is not a euphemism, but that is on podcast or YouTube. And you can talk about your favourite show on the Facebook group as well. Thank you, fellas. Stay sane, both of you. Have you got anything exciting? Any other business?
I'm gonna do a live DJ show from my house at some point.
That's a good idea. Let's do that.
I'm gonna live stream.
Follow it. Oh, are we all tuning? Oh, John Legend's already started tonight, hasn't he? So 8 o'clock he started.
Is that the O2?
No, he was doing it from his house, isn't he?
Oh, nice.
Chloe and I are going to launch a podcast.
What?
We're going to launch a podcast. Chloe and I are going to launch a podcast tomorrow, a couple's podcast.
Shout out to Izzy, who's got coronavirus.
Oh right. Also, we've got a relative that's got coronavirus. my lovely wife's brother's partner, coronavirus in the setup. We won't be leaving this house. Nightmare.
Fly on the wall documentary actually between the two of you would be remarkably good viewing.
It would be great. She'd honestly look. This is where she sits in the nest in the corner,
just
watching. She sits there watching, and as soon as I look like I'm having too much fun or I haven't given her enough attention, she appears and she's like, she'll close laptops, fold things out of the way, climb up. She'll be like, "I love you." You'll be like, "I fucking told you I love you 2 minutes ago. Go away." And then she'll come. Oh, she's saying rude now. That's it. I'm not going to get any dinner. This is an absolute balls up.
Good luck.
Sorry.
Good luck, men.
Thank you.
Hang in there. May the force be with you both, and with all of our friends and family in the WhatsApp group or the Facebook group or whatever it is. Let's dial in again soon. Love and hugs. Speak to you all. Don't hang up, fellas. Don't hang up.
Don't hang up.
Love and hugs.
I need to go for a week.
Speak to you again soon.
You've been watching the House of Rugby on Joe, together with Guinness. Drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.co.uk for the facts.